contracting, leasing, did construction, leasing, supply services, a little bit of everything, medical sharing, below the SAP, above the SAP. They kept me pretty busy. And then I transitioned to HUD for a little while, and then wanted to seek an opportunity with HHS, and I was with ASPR. So ASPR stands for Assistant Secretary for Prepared and Readiness. Pretty much they help whatever comes out of White House and back up FEMA when FEMA needs help. So very, he must have started when he started. That's funny. And so worked for them for about 4 years, and then got a really good opportunity to switch over to ACF as a compliance officer. Doing
ACF
audits,
is
yep, doing audits and reviews.
Administration for Children and Families, which
Yep,
is a
ACF.
branch under HHS. Okay.
Correct. And so is Asper. And then that was going well. And my director approached me and said, "Hey, have you ever thought about small business?" And I was like, I've worked with him before as far as being a CEO, but never, was a small business specialist or professional. And so he's like, let's try it out for a while. So I'm actually on a year-long detail with HHS Ostabu, Office of Small Disadvantaged Business Utilization. I'm on a detail with them for a year, learning everything small business. So it has been an amazing experience thus far. Am I a small business guru? Not yet, but I'm trying to be as soon as possible.
So you said you slipped something in there. You said something about contracting officer.
Yes. So I was a contracting
Okay.
officer for five, 6 years.
Okay. So you're able to see it from different perspectives, which is good. So let's back up and see what were some of the findings or I guess consistent things that you saw with businesses trying to market to you as a contracting officer? How do they even get to you as the contracting officer? And are you really the ultimate one that has the decision? And should they market to you or the contracting officer representative? I told you we're gonna get real
Now
here.
listen, now listen. Hold on. You got to ask that question again because there's a lot of questions in that question. All right. So if I missed something, you let me know.
Okay.
So the biggest issue I see with small businesses doing business with the federal government and or being subcontractors is they don't know the information or they don't know they need to know.
Mm.
So I created kind of a skeleton way of interacting with the government agencies that applies to any agency. And you whether it's VA or HUD or DOD, there's a formula to interact with them that is foolproof. If you do it, then you will always get a chance to either talk to somebody or get where you need to get. Now, it's going to take some tenacity on your end, but it's worth it. Next, she asked,
Wait. You said the formula, but you didn't give us the formula. Come on.
"All right, so
What's the formula?
if you're ready,
Okay.
so the formula is this: know what your business is good at, know who your target market is and what they buy per NAICS code, whatever specialty you're in, and don't have a bunch of NAICS codes. If you have over 10, just be mindful because that may be too many because we want to make sure that you're good at what you do with your core capabilities. So know your business. How did that NAICS code align with the agency? And then do more research because you want to see what specific opportunities that your NAICS codes fall under that align with that agency. It's not about just saying, "Hey, you know what? I'm a great business. I can do this. This is my past performance. These are the things that I can do." That's all well and good, but you didn't tell me anything. You didn't tell me how you took the initiative to connect what you can do to my mission or
Mhm.
to my need. For instance, if you're an IT company, yeah, sure, almost every agency in the government procures IT, but what kind of IT? Are we doing medical IT? Are we doing staffing IT? Are we doing database cloud service IT? Are we doing innovative IT? Like, what is, you can't just come to me and say, "Oh, I'm an IT business." I'm like, "Okay, great.
Uh,
Next."
to me, you still have to customize your capability statement to that specific agency that you're targeting.
Right.
But um,
So let me finish off the formula.
okay.
So after you do that, then you start to attend capability, you start to seek capability briefings. So you either do capability briefings with the contracting officer or the small business professional, and then you also go to industry days because industry days give you a chance to hear directly from the program office about what they need, what their pain points are, what questions that they may have that you can feel, what pain points they may have. And so you take all of that information that they give you and your research, and then you start to align strategically with who you want to talk to. Hey, I want to talk to this organization, this subdivision, or this program office inside of HHS, inside of ACF, because they said they needed this specifically. So I'm gonna email them first, and then if they don't respond, then email the small business specialist or professional for that that covers that agency to build our relationship and to get you in that door. So that's the formula. So know the business, research how it aligns to the agency, make yourself available by doing vendor engagement sessions or attending industry days, and then follow up, but not follow up to say, hey, I need a contract. Follow up and say, hey, I want to be a part of your market research. This is what I offer. This is what I can do, and this is how amazing I am. And my colleagues will hate me for saying this, but you are a small business and you want to be successful, reach out to them.
Mm-hmm.
I hear businesses all the time like, I don't want to worry people, I don't want to bother, I don't want to seem like a pester. Reinvent your communication and reach out to them. Are you looking at the forecast? Are you looking at SAMS.gov? Are you looking at ways to stay relevant and to stay engaged with the people that you're interested in doing business with? Okay, that's the formula. Sorry
That's
about that.
a good formula. That's a good formula. And that's some of the things that they should have learned in the program doing the market research. And my recommendation is telling them to come in there and talk about contracts that are expiring. So would that make you feel comfortable knowing that that small business has done that level of research before they approach you?
Yes, and if I can sense that they have done that level of research before they approach me, then that's going to make me more open to connecting them with who I need to connect them with.
Mhm.
I'm not gonna send my program people any junk because then that looks bad on me. Or I'm not gonna send my small business that's not ready to my director or my program shop because that's gonna look, they're gonna like, well, Demetrius, how are you betting these businesses? How did they get past you? And then my credibility is on the line and you ain't gonna mess with my credibility. So
Mhm.
when you meet with a small business professional, I'm gonna immediately tell you to we're gonna have a transparent conversation. And then after we have a transparent conversation, I'm going to say, I'm going to send you my links. I'm going to give you the HHS OSTABU 5 slides outline for you to fill out. And then you're going to come back and do that capability briefing for me. And then we're going to talk about that before you even start to talk about connecting with somebody inside the agency.
Wow, now this is a whole, as I was saying, and I was telling you yesterday, I'm impressed with what you all are doing. And I'm seeing a different change in how you all are connecting with small business. And I do see more of the customer service side. So even when I reached out to you, uh, and you called me back, I was like, "Oh, you're a good government employee," because you know there's always the representative. I mean, you're always thinking they don't call you back. So, so,
Can I talk about that for a minute, please?
mhm,
So, on behalf of everybody in the federal government, I apologize. Some of us are busy,
mhm,
overworked, and got a lot going on. So you do not always get a response from us for those reasons, or some people are not as comfortable talking to industry and don't know how to navigate it. It hasn't always been a great relationship between government and industry. So let's just be really honest with it. So again, if no one ever told you, I apologize for them not doing that. But we need grace for each other.
mhm,
Now, I'm going to say something else that's going to kind of contradict what I just said, but stick with me. With that said, it is important for you to respond to sources sought notices and RFI notices. I know you may not always get a response back, but you have an opportunity to really influence and shape what the government does, whether you know it or not. So, for
mhm,
instance, say if they post a RFI. RFI is request for information. And so the government has an idea of how they want to procure something, but they may have, but they may not be secure in it, or they may not know, or they might want to see what the industry says, or it may be an old technology. So if you don't respond to that RFI, then we think we have the latest and greatest and the best, and we are up to date when that may not be true. So we need to hear from industry because you're the industry leaders. You're in it day to day, every day developing. You know about innovation. You know about how things are evolving, how they are developing. We're really asking to know. So we really want to know. And again, I apologize again. We may not respond, but just know you may have affected the procurement process. Let's talk about, so we talked about R5s. Let's talk about source and salt notices. This is huge because if I'm doing my market research and I'm posting a source and salt notice, that means, hey, I need to know what type of businesses can do what I'm asking them to do. And if you don't respond, then I'm going to do what I think is best, which may not always be best. How do I know a small business exists if it doesn't reach out to me?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Say if I need to set aside for a service disabled better known company, but nobody in the service disabled better known businesses respond, but women owned do. So now I can set aside for women owned, but I can't do it for service disabled better known. And now that may affect me not meeting my numbers. And the numbers for service disabled better known just got increased for all the federal agencies. It went from 3% across the board to 5% across the board. So it's imperative that we meet our numbers, but we can't meet our numbers if we don't know you exist. And I don't know if you exist or not if you don't respond.
And for me, again, I think where the disconnect is from small businesses with the government, being on both sides, is that you all again assume that everyone understands the language. So again, that was the reason of creating the program so they could understand. You're at all these events saying we need you to respond to sources. So okay, that sounds good, but I don't really know what it should look like. So that was part of the exercise we make them go through and understanding the importance of you navigating and staying in, not just responding, but following up. Follow that source and salt notice through its acquisition strategy.
Correct. Correct. Staying in tune and staying connected. Now, obviously, we know there's going to come a point where there can't be communication between government and industry, but up until that point, reach out.
Mhm.
And okay, so make sure you write this down because here's another thing. Here's another thing. So a lot of people look at SAMS.gov for opportunities, but you can technically look at SAMS.gov for things that are already awarded. And if it's awarded, guess what? You have the contract, you have the point of contact, you have the statement of work, PWS, statement of objectives. So technically, you have everything you need to plan for when that contract expires and reach out to somebody currently,
Mhm.
right? Because it's mandated that the government has to post every single awarded contract we do, right?
Mhm.
So technically, you have a database that gives you opportunities, but if you reverse engineer it, just like you do FES, you have a lot of information that you can dissect and that you can use in congruence with the forecasting, you can use for planning, you can use a lot of things. And I tell businesses all the time, say you're just getting a say if say if you're just getting started, right? Okay, perfect example. Say if you're just getting started and you're looking for maybe you're a little nervous and you want to look for subcontracting opportunities. So say if the ACF just awarded maybe $500 million contract to a large business, what's to stop you from reaching out to that large business saying, hey, you know what? I saw you got this contract award. I don't know who your small businesses are, but this is what I do, and this is how I could help you if you need some additional help. What person wouldn't want more resources?
Does USA spending identify whether or not they've had to submit or FPDS? I use both of those databases interchangeable. Does it identify whether or not a subcontracting plan was required for that particular award? Or do you have to key that in?
FPDS, yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the other, but I know FPDS, yes.
Okay.
And that subcontracting plan is a part of the contract.
Mhm.
So you can see it. And that'd be a good way to understand how. The subcontracting panel will set up how it's looking, kind of your expectations for that. Now, we'll say this: with this has been very interesting lately that I'm learning. So I have businesses come to me and say, "Oh, I don't have past performance, but I've been doing subcontracting," and I'm like, "That doesn't make sense because if you're doing subcontracting, then that prime has a federal obligation to use ESRS to
Mhm.
document that subcontracting performance.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That's mandated. That's mandated by that's it's mandated by the FAR. So the FAR or the Code of Federation. Oh, I forgot to say it.
That's all right.
Yes.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
FAR. Yeah,
I know
FAR.
what
That's
you're
it.
saying, somewhere
Yes.
either in the FAR or the Code of Federal Regulations.
Yes. Yes. The Code of
Okay.
Federal Regulations. Yes.
Mhm.
I get confused because I'm saying if you are subcontracting, one, you should ask the prime for a written past performance directly to you so you can save. And then secondly, they should be reporting it into the system and submitting that to the contracting officer when they do their invoicing. And so I'm starting to make sure that people are familiar with that process so they can start holding people accountable, even the federal government, because we haven't done a great job of doing that. Also, there's some opportunities for us to be better at getting those reports.
And then SBA also will also, they have the commercial marketing representative who monitors those prime contractors who were required to have subcontracting plan and kind of find them. So it works in both
Yep.
ways. So someone is starting out. Outside of coming through our program and getting educated, they want what would you recommend the very first step of engagement? You threw out a lot of stuff. You threw out responding to RFIs, you responded to sources sought, going to industry days. What would be my very first step to try to become engaged?
It's going to be so simple.
Mhm.
I think there is a wealth of knowledge that we do not sit down and digest. And that wealth of knowledge is at your fingertips on YouTube.
It's what
On
on.
YouTube.
Okay. Mhm.
SBA has done an amazing job over the last 10 years creating YouTube videos of the entire small business world. Like I'm still learning from videos that are like 8 years old.
Mhm.
And so I would say the biggest thing that I would say small businesses should do getting started is so they're not overwhelmed, just take some time and
Well, I
watch the
think
videos.
for me, working at SBA and working with many of their resource partners, what I found, and one of the reasons that led me to leave was that it's still information process. I mean, information. Generally, like at SBA, they come to our workshop and I'll say, go get registered in SAM. Go get your certification. And so everybody takes all those steps. And then they're saying, now what's next? So for me, no one was really teaching the process. So understanding the process before they even get to you, because I've had businesses, they don't want to go and understand the process and compete on contracts without understanding the rules of engagement. And the rules of engagement can be harsh
Yes.
if you don't follow the rules. Would you agree?
I very much agree. So, after you identify, the type of business you want, your next codes, I would, well, even before that, find out the rules, figure out what the rules are to play. As I always say, figure out what you need to do to play in the sandbox. Because there are rules to keep you in the sandbox, and there's all rules to get you out, get you kicked out of the sandbox really quick. So figure out what those rules are, and then see how you navigate. Like, what's your lane? Is it professional services? Is it transportation logistics? Is it medical devices? Is it IT? Like, what is it? And then start to grow from there.
So had you had any experience with contract award, I mean construction awards?
I have. I have.
And what are the challenges for, because I have a lot of real estate industry who work with clients who work with a lot of construction. What are some of the challenges they have in the construction? You
How much
shaking
time you
your
got? How much
head.
time you got?
Real talk, huh?
Scale, scalable. I think in construction, people really don't understand that it's a scalable job. And sure, it looks like you can handle it, but sometimes you run into small businesses that can't handle it, or that it becomes too much, or they try to lowball their quote and then change order it up, or have all these change orders, these modifications that increase the cost and drive the cost back up.
Mhm.
So that's the problem. The biggest problem I see with construction. Um, there's an understanding that they can do the job and it may be in the wheelhouse, but they may not be able to handle the level that is needed. I was talking to a small business in Atlanta the other day, and they want to do federal contracting, renovation on buildings, but they were only used to doing apartment complexes. And I was like, well, there's different rules and regulations for federal buildings. And so even before we start to have this conversation, I need you to get brushed up on those and understanding that process and the bonding process because that may run you out of business. And I don't want that to happen to you. Like I want some small businesses to be successful. I want them to be around for a long time. Now I want them to thrive. And the only way to do that is like Paula said, you got to know the rules of the game
Mhm.
and you got to know your capacity. Listen, I would love to give all the contracts to small businesses, but some contracts are just too large. And
You're
that's
not
fine.
ready.
That's why we have subcontracting plans. But know what you can do and know what you can't. And then have teaming partners, joint ventures, or people you can tap to in case you need them.
Mhm. Very good. Very good. I know. Are y'all enjoying? Give me a show of hands if y'all enjoying this. We're going to continue on, and as we get closer to the 1 o'clock hour, I'll open it up. So let's um, let's let's talk about the process. That's what I was so excited at that event that you held 2 weeks ago, the National Small Business Training Day, and being able to hear someone from the head of contracting. What's the title? Head of contracting. What is
Activity. Yep. Head of contracting activity or director of contracting activity.
activity.
Yep.
Because again, we don't know what goes behind the scene, right?
Right.
We will tell you to go to the small business specialist. You're trying to get to either the core or the contracting officer based on the agency. That's another conversation. But what does the how does the acquisition process truly start so people can understand what occurs on your end and how it gets out for them to compete on these contracts?
So this was really great for me when I understood this because technically we all are contracting officers or we all do this process. For example, I just put mine up, but for example, everyone has a cell phone. So you had to identify a need, which the program office does. That's mission. Oh, you want me to go back even further? Because we can go back to
Yeah, we
program
got to
steps.
go back. Just talk to us like we just don't know. It's a different
Okay,
language.
I got
So
you. I got you.
what
So,
let's start once the budget is passed. So
okay, yeah,
once the
I got you.
budget is passed,
I
because
got
I
you. We
tell
always
them they're on a continuing resolution. They're not really busy. They limited funding, but now that the budget's passed, y'all have a short window to get rid of a lot of money. So what happens once the budget is passed?
got it. Okay, awesome. So the budget is passed, and so what does that mean when the budget's passed? That means Congress has allotted certain dollars for certain things in the agency. Oh, HHS is getting this much money, and DoD is getting this much money, and so forth and so on. So Congress says this is your pot of money, and this is associated with your mission. Then HHS is like, okay, I have 9 sub agencies. So out of this pot of money, what how should I be divvied up between the different sub agencies according to their mission, right? Because Congress said, okay, each agency has these missions and these things they're doing. Okay, so let's slow down the money to those agencies. Then the head of each agency is like, okay, cool. So each sub agency gets this money, or each and then each program office gets this amount of money.
Mm-hmm.
That's associated to the mission, right? And so once that gets done to the program office and they have the funds, they're like, okay, so what programs are we funding that align with the original budget that Congress passed? So it
Mm-hmm.
goes from Congress, um, then agency, then program office, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so now program office has the money and the need. And so they have to figure out what is the best use of that money in the time frame that is given. Now, all money is different. It's called the color of money. The color of money is different because that means where did the money come from, what can it be used for, and how long does it last? Because some money is special money. It only lasts for a certain amount of time before it expires and goes back. Some money lasts for a year, some last for two, some last for no year. So so knowing the color of money is important and where it came from and what it needs to be used for. Then the program office decides, okay, when they determine the color of money, then they determine what need matches the color of money. So for instance, if it's an ongoing research and development, then that may be know your money under for example CDC, maybe or if it's a R&D because of a new vaccine is needed, then there may be the color of money may be just 2 year money. But then they spend it appropriately. So that's why it's important to know the mission, know where dollars were spent, or let me back up. That's why it's good to know what Congress is talking about and where they allocated funds, and then where those allocated funds go in the agency, and then how does the agency taking that funds and actually putting it to use. So the agency has the fund and the need. The program office has the fund and the needs. So then they're like, oh, we have this need, and how do we meet it? How do we define this need? How does need, what is the time frame for this need? What other parties need to go on, be connected so we can get this need to become realistic and
Mm-hmm.
get it implemented. And so then that's where contracting starts to come into conversation, or program managers start to come into conversation. Like, okay, hey, we have a need and we have funds, but we don't know how to get it. So let me write up a statement of work, or let me write up a scope. Let me write up a need document or need statement to say, hey, let me do some acquisition planning. And let me figure out what my acquisition strategy is so I can get all these things married up so we can start to get into the procurement process of getting this need met. Then you start tapping into all the key players, small business, contracting officer, program, your cores. And you're like, hey, we have this need, we have these funds. How can we get this done in a timely fashion? What are our goals? How do we meet this? Is this something we need to do in 6 months? What's the need date? What are our halt times? What are our milestones? And then that conversation started happening. Then we start researching, okay, what type of businesses can meet this need? Is it a large business? Is it a small business? Or is it a certain type of veteran owned? Is it a woman owned? Is it a hub zone? Is it a HBCU? How can we get this need met? And so then you start to see the market research happen. Once the market research that's happening, you may see the need refined, and then after the need refined, then you'll see either solicitation of some shape, form, or fashion, or you may see a direct award notice. HHS is thinking about direct awarding this, and you have this amount of time to respond. And if you don't respond, that means there's no competition, and then there may be need for a JNA to get it awarded. So, but again, back to that statement I said earlier, that's why it's important for you to talk, to speak to the RFIs, to speak to the source of thought notices, because that's going to tailor the next steps in the contract and procurement process to get us to the award process and contract administration and then closeout.
And how do you work with, where does SBA come in through all of this planning? At some
Uh,
point, they have to be able to review how you're doing the acquisition and ensuring that there's enough of those dollars going to small businesses.
Right. And so every year, SBA meets with each agency to determine their small business goals. Now, the agency does have an opportunity to negotiate those goals, but SBA sets the goals for all agencies, for small business goal and subcontracting goals. And then that's the goals for the year. So the agency is working on meeting those goals by the end of the fiscal year. Now, when I talk about the procurement process and the acquisition strategy, so at the acquisition strategy stage, If they're doing market research and then they say, oh, there are small businesses that can do this, the small business specialist verifies that. If there's any ambiguity, then there may be SBA may be involved to do an additional review to make sure that we've crossed the T's, dotted the I's, and that we're doing good, and then we can go forth with it. If it is a set aside for a certain small business and we need a say for the 8A program and we need what is it called, an acceptance letter from SBA to say, hey, this is a verified small business or verified 8A company that can do business with federal government, you can proceed and work with them. Another way we bring in SBA is say, hey, SBA can help us with market research. Hey, SBA, I'm struggling to figure out there's small businesses out there. Can you help me with market research? Do you know anybody? Do you know anything? Can you test the market for us and help us with the market research? Also, SBA does reviews. So say if I'm doing say if I said, oh no, there are no small businesses that can help, SBA was like, hey, hold on, double check your market research. Let me do my own research and get back with you. So
Mhm.
SBA is an external agency that really holds agencies accountable. So
Mhm.
obviously agencies have their own small business shop inside the agency, but SBA is kind of like the big SBA. They're their own standalone agency to keep everybody else accountable to meeting those goals, and figuring out why not. Now, what I'm also learning the SBA does is the SBA also does audits.
Mhm.
Yes, so
Yes.
SBA will jump into to do audits throughout different
Mhm.
agencies to make sure that they're doing the subcontracting plans. That the subcontracting plans are also thorough. They're legit. They're not just saying they're doing them but not really doing them, or they're pencil whipping as we call them. But maybe they upload the plan but didn't fill it out, or maybe the plan's not completely out, or maybe the plan's not being implemented. So SBA is does a great job of holding everybody very accountable.
And that's what I'm loving because I at that event I not seen SBA and HHS. We're coming together as a team to support the community. And I'm loving what I'm hearing what SBA is doing, even streamlining the process for those who are applying into their certification programs. For the veterans, Jackie said it was 2 weeks that they are getting certified.
Yes, yes.
Unfortunately, with the women's program, it's taking 12 months. And again, what people really don't understand is that most of these agencies, I would say, are understaffed. Would you agree with that? And especially SBA. I had 40 businesses that I was responsible for in my role as the BOS. There was no way that I could support them effectively with that caseload. So, when they start talking about what SBA is not doing, no one's been on the inside and understand our pain point. No, I don't really have time to talk to you. And that was the purpose of the resource partners. So,
And and
hmm,
I just want to piggyback on that. Listen, the government, we're people too. We are people too with lives and families and things going on. And so, again, just asking for grace because we have a very important mission, and we have a lot of factors that go along with seeing that mission and a lot of eyes on us. And so it's better that we take our time sometimes when we can, and that we navigate this space appropriately. So understand that we don't always have it right. Give us some grace and be a partner with us and help us.
um, you've had the experience with in working with small business across a couple of agencies. Is there a difference? If I'm marketing to VA as opposed to HHS, is there a different marketing strategy you would recommend?
There's not, but I would say no, the agency, how do I say this? Each agency has small business goals, and each agency has things that they focus on, right? So make sure that you know the agency that you want to do business with and how they do business. For example, me working for the VA, right? So obviously the VA has small business goals, but they give priority to better known and service able better known businesses. HHS, the goal is to meet all the small business goals. And I'm not saying VA doesn't either, but VA has priority for certain businesses. And HHS is trying to meet all their goals. And there's no one or two that have priority. Also, the VA has a subcategory because the VA has services they were better known and better known. So some agencies don't have better known. It's just service disabled better known. So again, so when you're thinking about who you're marketing to, I would say look at their business priority and what they have that's available that matches your NAICS code. You can still market to them, but understanding how, why, when, and where.
And so DOD, you said you did a little at where you were at HUD. I did
Yeah, I
hear.
was at HUD. I wasn't a DOD, so I can't give you a DOD. Not yet, not yet. Maybe one day.
Well, see, that's what I saw with Shannon and him bringing the structure to HHS. I just heard that DOD background because DOD is that has perfected this machine and know the structure to make it work. They have to. They're protecting us. I would want them to.
Right. If anybody had to write a DOD, better have it right.
If the EOD's messed up, we all messed up.
Yes, yes. But I would say know the agency and pay attention to what they award. Like one thing that I'm still digesting is when an agency, so the small business percentages, even though we have goals, the small business percentages fluctuate every time a contract's awarded. So if you know a contract was awarded to a large business, I would be talking to my small business specialist immediately because they're going to need to recover from that award to make sure the percentages are good. Does that make sense? Give me a thumbs up if that makes sense. If an agency just awarded $1 billion contract to a large business, that affected all the small business numbers and they went down.
Oh.
So in order to make sure they're still meeting their goals, that is an ideal time to reach out to your small business professionals and to your program corner contacts and your contracting officers because those numbers were just shifted.
Mm. And everything is goal driven
Yes.
for me when I was working at SBA.
Yes. There's a
Um,
matrix for everything.
um, Me on the other side, I'm putting my federal contract and small business hat and haven't had that business. Sometimes for me, I wasn't quite sure. Should I be trying to target and get in front of the contracting officer representative, the core, or should I be trying to talk to the contracting officer? Who is my end point in trying to sell? And does it vary from agency to agency?
So that's a challenging question, but I'm gonna answer it the best way I can, okay?
Okay.
So the initial statement I'm going to say to you is the contracting officer is the person who awards the contract. That's who has
Correct.
the power and the pen.
Correct.
They are not the people that have the money. so, so you have to be mindful of tailoring your conversation to whoever you need to talk to. Me personally, if I was a small business, I would say everybody's important because it flows differently for different types of contracting, right? So say if you have a niche type of technology, service, supply, widget, whatever, then I would say you need to talk to the program office because when they're doing their market research, they may be able to identify you as the one and only business and try to shoot for a sole source contract. And if they can present that to the contracting officer, and the contracting officer can meet with you and deem that, and then do a post, a source of salt notice, or do a intent to a sole source, then you may get it there by telling the program office, hey, this is who I am, this is what I can do. On the flip side, they may say, oh, you're not the only small business that can do that. Oh, we're going to compete it. But since we found out that you are a woman owned small business and there's some more out there, then we'll set aside for a women owned small business. Then, that relationship with the contract officer may matter. Now, a core wears a lot of hats. Sometimes a core is the program person and a core, or sometimes they are just a core period because some agencies have core as a standalone job function
Can
because
you can you define that a little bit? The two roles, so those who may not, just go a
I'll
little.
turn it down while you're still in here.
okay, so a core contracting officers representatives. Some agencies have so many contracts to manage that
Mhm.
the actual core is a job title and position, the role, responsibilities with duties. They use
Managing multiple contracts, correct?
managing multiple contracts.
Mhm.
And so normally they do the administration portion of the contract, the invoicing, helping with closeout, and making sure that the day-to-day is done. So that's boots to the ground person.
Mhm.
And sometimes that core is also a program office person, if a program person that helped create the need. So sometimes they wear multiple hats. So it just depends on the agency and their structure and what the roles and responsibilities for that core are. Does that thumbs up if that makes sense?
Yes. And I think from my perspective, because I had a contract where I had a contracting officer technical representative because it was a task order contract. And under each of the task orders, those were my cores. So I had one person I was talking to, but we had multiple task orders that I was still responsible to reporting to them as well. So, you know, most people also ask this question, contracting officer, how long will it take before I get my check? I need my coins.
It depends. I hate to say it, but it depends.
Uh,
Um, I, it depends in a good way, and it depends in an even better way. So let me
okay.
explain that. So most contracts are net 30. That means you're going to get paid in 30 days of an approved invoice, not after the work is done. It has to be an approved invoice. Then you 30 days from the contracting officer or the core approving the invoice in the system. So that's why it's important to have good communication because if you finish the job or you did the task or the service or delivered it on April 1st, but the invoice wasn't processed till April 30th, April
Mhm.
30th is that third, it starts that 30-day countdown.
Mhm.
Now, the government understands that you have to have operating funds as a business. The government understands that. So there is a thing called um, partial payments or progress payments.
Mhm.
So say if you're like, hey, Mr. Government, or hey, Mrs. Government, we're struggling as a small business, and I know we haven't done everything on this contract yet, but we've done a portion of it. Can you give us a progress payment for the portion that we've done? And here's the invoice to represent that.
Mm. How do you all reflect on that? Because I think you all are expecting the small business to already have that financing. And again, they're struggling just trying to
Right.
make payroll. Mm.
Understandable. And that's why it's important to have that conversation either A, in the kickoff meeting, or have that conversation within 15 days of the need or the contract. Don't wait too late. It's
Mm.
okay to have that conversation to be transparent. We are here to help you, not for you to go out of the business. Because if you fail, then it's going to be challenging for us to start this process all over again.
Absolutely.
So it behooves us to make sure you're successful.
Yes, and I did have a contract where it was with CMS where they actually was paying us every 2 weeks because the other direct cost was so much for a small business to carry. That is a good; those are good options. How about if subcontractors? What if my subcontractor? You didn't push me to my subcontractor, and he holding on to my money. What options do I have?
So the first option would be to let the CO know. I know that the CEO is going to say they don't have a relationship. You have to work that out with the prime, but there are some documentation that will affect the prime if there are some issues of the sub not getting paid. Also, elevated to SBA because SBA has more teeth and more tools to address that issue than the contracting officer. So contracting officers do have a little wiggle room, but not much. If it is a problem, you have to reach out to SBA and let them know. They have way more, again, resources and tools where they can help you navigate that and fix that situation.
Yeah, and you also, even if the government, people don't understand SBA's role, which is very powerful. You can't fight the government by yourself if you haven't. I mean, as again, government is human, and sometimes you don't feel like you have anyone hearing or speaking on your behalf. That's where the Office of Government Contracts come in, and now they're negotiating with that agency on your behalf because you, as a small business, I can't fight you. So, that's very good. So it is 12:52. I'm going to open it up for questions.
And
If you have any questions, please unmute yourself.
And while you're asking questions, I'm going to put some things in the chat that I want you to copy and paste and take for later on. All right. So the first thing I'm putting in the chat is an invitation to an industry day. It's called an advanced planning briefing for industry by the ACF, GCS is holding, HHS, ACF agency is holding an industry day in DC, May 6th through the 8th. Oh, I'm sorry, in Bethesda, May 6th through the 8th. So there is the link, the invitation, and the registration link is in there also. So if you copy and paste that,
I think I posted that because y'all's events tend to sell out very, very quickly.
yes, when we opened it up on Friday, we have 450 seats. I think right now we have already 350 gone. There is a virtual option there also. So, but you would not, if you can be in person, definitely be in person. If you can't, do it virtual unless they're connected.
Yeah.
Next, I'm gonna put the best way to reach out to me. Follow this next thing to a T because it makes you searchable in my inbox. So when you email me your capability statement and the 5 slides, but do it with the subject line, how I'm saying here. Now, my director realized that small businesses were struggling with capability briefings. So he created something called the 5 slides. The 5 slides is basically a capability briefing outline for you when you present your capability briefings to the agencies. All you need is 5 slides. And so that's the link for those 5 slides.
I am loving y'all. I really am. You are making it so easy and convenient. So you all are taking the lead in this, and I appreciate that.
You are welcome. Yep, you are welcome. That capability to win that capability briefing, the 5 slides works every time, and you can personalize it however you want to. And then lastly, I'm going to send you links that I always send my small business vendors when they want to do business with the government. This is a good place to kind of start using these links, familiarize yourself with these links, and they'll give you different opportunities. All right. So after that, I'm sorry, we got 5 minutes left. All right.
All right. I'm always promoting your events in our newsletter too. They have to get there. So Yvonne, she has a question.
First of all, I want to say this was excellent. What did you say? Is it ESRS? Because I realized I've done a lot of work for one of my clients, and I looked it up, and they're getting their money from the government, and that's past performance.
I'm putting that link in the chat now. It's called ESRS, Electronic Subcontracting Reporting System, and it's in the chat now.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. We have 5 minutes. Anybody else have any questions?
And you have my email address. So if something comes up later on, hey, let me know. Feel free to reach out.
And he is a good government employee and he answers his phones. I can verify that. I can confirm that. Nobody has any questions?
Y'all gonna make this so easy for me.
This was good, good information. All right, Lillian. Yes. Unmute yourself.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
So my name's Lillian Rivera from Lighthouse Translations. We're based out of Puerto Rico. And we met you guys in Atlanta recently at the HHS. And I just have to say, hey, you guys are awesome. We've been doing this for about a year now because we became 8A. And I've learned so much with just you guys from Atlanta today. I just really want to appreciate you guys, appreciate the time that you give to us for free and just saying, hey, we want to help. I'm grateful, I'm thankful, and I will be at the ACF. We're taking the trip. We're all booked and ready to go.
So since you were brave enough, I want to give you a tidbit. So do you know well, first of all, thank you so much. We appreciate it humbly. I have two amazing directors that get it. And it's a blessing to have them as mentors and be a part of the team. So first of all, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Next, do you know what an IFC is?
IFC, I don't.
Influx Care Facility?
I don't, but I'm going to start taking notes right now.
Yes. So I want you,
IFC.
since you do translation services, I want you to look up IFCs that are awarded around the country for HHS, ACF. And I would reach out to the prime to see if they can utilize your services since you do translations.
Awesome. For HHS.
HHS, yep. So ACF, IFC. Or is it ICFs? Influx Care Facility, IFC. So look at those. There may be some opportunities for you to do some sub work there.
Fantastic. I will get ready for that for the conference. I will know.
They're already awarded, but there may be some subcontracting opportunities in the current ones that we have. So just stay close to them.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
The key
you guys
is
are the best.
The key is studying these databases. That's what I realized while working at SBA. SBA has their database. GSA is managing this database, and nobody is really helping people to understand how to navigate all of them. And so what we're training is having market research, look at stuff that's expiring. When you're talking to teaming partners, when you're talking to the contracting officers, with sole source contracts, what I realized when I got on the inside, I was like, oh, this is where you find 8A sole source contracts that are expiring and then matching them up with 8A firms that are graduating, because that contract has to go to another 8A company. It takes that. Say what?
Once it's in the 8A program, it's in the program.
It takes an act of Congress to take it out.
Oh, also, speaking of market research, your immediate homework from this session, if you have not already did it, is to register your business on SBCX.
They're having a problem right now with that site, and it's going to get fixed next week.
Thank you. All right. So your homework by next week, as soon as it gets back up, is to register your business on there. We use it for market research. We're developing a business networking tool on there. And so there are a lot of different things on that we utilize for SBCX. So it'd behoove you to get on there as soon as possible. I see. Thank you for that.
And can I just say, Paula, thank you so much for always making sure we know what to do. And I did go and pull, somebody was awarded something in my next code. I pulled the contract, I pulled everything. And just like you just said, Demetrius, that was so helpful because I finally saw what everything looks like.
Now you have a pattern.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Yvonne. As we close out, tomorrow I have an information session. We have the next cohort starting next Wednesday with Mr. Lord, and his background is IT DoD, managing $200 million contracts. I couldn't take you there. So if you know someone, please share this information. And thank you again, always, for supporting the GPI community. Mr. Kittrell, it was real. We had our real talk. We really, it wasn't enough time because I could have claimed you a couple of more questions, but I appreciate you. Thank you for being the servant that you are, because I know it's not easy, but you all are doing a wonderful job, and I appreciate you. Thank you. That being said, have a good weekend, everyone. Thank you again.
Bye.
Bye-bye.